Welcome to the Counterweight Podcast. I am Doug Rogers, your host, and I am excited to share these stories of vision and thought leadership in AI and digital health. I am focused on speaking to and learning from founders, operational leaders, physicians, and deep thinkers all across the healthcare space. We believe that a majority of people join healthcare companies, technology companies, health systems, practices, because they believe in the mission of improving lives of those around them. We will discuss with our guests the why for digital health. We will learn about how they are tackling some of the biggest problems in healthcare, where AI intersects with care engagement and delivery, and how patients and consumers are thinking differently about healthcare today. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn under the name The Counterweight. Subscribe, like, follow, and please join into the conversation. Now on to the show. Hello and welcome. My name is Doug Rogers, and I am the host of the Counterweight Podcast, where we focused on digital health companies, growth leaders, founders, entrepreneurs, and those who are blazing new spaces of AI in healthcare. And super excited to welcome Dave Smith to the pod. Dave, phenomenal opportunity. I'm really pumped about this conversation. Why don't you take a moment, just introduce yourself, Luma Health, you're the SVP of Revenue. That sounds like a really big and important job. I get impressed when I hear it. But let's hear a little bit about you and Luma, and we'll dive right in.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. I appreciate the opportunity to spend the time with you. Your podcast is enlightening, interesting. It decodes much of the quagmire of this Venn diagram.
Quagmire, I like
right,
it.
Right. I'm already showing off. Right. I went to the Harvard of the South, University of North Texas. So as you mentioned, SVP of Revenue. I've been with Luma for 5 years.
Wow.
I joined Luma really summer of 2020, and I haven't had a single day since then where I haven't felt a deep sense of fulfillment, purpose, challenge. As you mentioned, my span of responsibility is everything from growth for the organization, both welcoming new folks into Luma, the Luma special family of customers, and then helping those customers to be as successful and stay with us for as long as we can, be their trusted partner.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What an incredible opportunity. So just to say that back, you've got responsibility for the go-to-market team, which is sales, channel partnership, sales enablement, sales operations, and then you've got connectivity into the client success or client management org and supporting those clients on an ongoing basis. Tell us a little bit about Luma itself. I think you just, this is me outside looking in. Luma is one of the companies I love to watch. I think y'all are doing some really cool things. May fly a little bit under the radar in kind of the broader digital health ecosphere, but just give our listeners a synopsis around your approach, the market you serve, the problem statement you're trying to solve in the digital healthcare space.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we're proud to celebrate our 10-year birthday. 10-year anniversary.
Woohoo! I'm going to pop up a cake up here in the picture here in a moment.
Which is in of itself just a testament to our three founders. Luma has always been a kind of the anti-pattern company is the best I would describe it. We have a wildly diverse organization. The company's values are about not being the hero, but being the guide, per se. The company was founded. It's a fascinating, one of the inherent benefits that we've been able to enjoy for 10 years is that we get hired by our customers to help them solve really hard access solutions. And access is a continuum that scales many different entry exit points of a bunch of work processes that largely are human automation, the EHR. We can obviously dig into all of that, later.
Yeah.
But the company, ironically, was founded um, with this idea of solving a waitlist problem. So when the company was
Mm.
founded, one of our founders is a wildly talented radiologist, and his talent enabled him to serve in capacities outside of his normal hours, and he was volunteering at FQHCs when he was at Michigan,
Okay.
and what he noticed was you have all these incidents where people really need care, and it's really hard to get care. And many times the reason it's hard to get
Uh,
care is that the schedule looks full. And
and
in
it may not
reality,
actually be full.
it
Yeah.
and there's not a single health system that enjoys the benefit of 100% occupancy of
Yeah.
every single slot every single week. And I, when I heard this story of, wow, okay, that's a hard problem. Why? It's a hard problem because it requires you to integrate flawlessly
Hmm.
into an EHR. It requires you to know enough about the provider slot, the template, it requires you then to be able to be consumer grade so that you could take that and offer that to somebody else. And so
Yeah.
in a way, the very first thing that was the first seed planted for Luma was arguably the hardest access problem, and still remains that way for many organizations today. And so that was 10 years ago. And for the past 10 years, we have fortunately been in a spot, Doug, where it's a battleground
Yeah.
for the time and attention of the patient. It's a battleground for the providers, a battleground for these highly competitive brands and businesses. But we've enjoyed trying to be the center of that Venn diagram and make products and solutions that amplify that access. And so, yeah, 10 years, Luma. Thank you for kindly saying that we're a little bit of a quiet company. The organization is not a look at me, look at me, look at me organization. And if you look at our booths at conferences, you'll routinely see, not the big gears of
Right.
look at our product
Yeah.
gearing together. Okay, you'll see customer quotes. You'll see we try to make the success of our customer um, at the forefront of how we market our solution. And of course, hey, would it be nice to have a Super Bowl ad? Sure.
Eh,
Would it be nice to enjoy a windfall of some super clever ad? Yeah, but we've been able to sustain being the tortoise more than the hare by just making everything we try to do about our customer, and that aligns with me. And so it's
well,
easy for me to have that symmetry.
yeah. And I'll just say, part of what I love about this, yeah, as an outsider looking in and seeing how you broadly Luma Health talk about yourself, all of what you just described resonates. I mean, from your LinkedIn post to I saw one of you, I think it was one of your co-founders at Vive with a client in one of the
Mhm,
showcases, and the entire discussion was less around per se Luma has this great technology, which there was certainly some of that thread, and it was more so this is the problem statement that we were trying to solve, and this
mhm,
is the benefit that this community saw because we were able to open up schedule. I think part of the use case was after hour calls and making it actually easier for patients to have a conversation when they couldn't get a
mhm,
nurse or go to a voicemail, et cetera. And so that just really stands true. Um, Guide us a little bit, Dave, on the journey that both Luma has been on and where you are today.
mhm.
What is the focus in terms of your market? We may throw around terms, ideal client profile,
Sure,
et cetera, but
sure.
are y'all predominantly focused on the health system market, on the independent physician practice, some cross section, if you will, of those combination?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have 5 markets we serve.
Okay.
I'll start with the easiest. We have
Yeah.
we have several very, very large EHRs that white label our solutions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations.
So
Yeah.
they use all of these comms access readiness solutions,
Yeah.
and we are very fortunate to have wonderful relationships, and they are going to market with Luma as a part of what they do. And so
Phenomenal.
that's a part, that one, I'll just start with that. Then we look at the FQHC market, which we
Mm,
have always, because that's where the company was born out of that business problem. So we've always, in that market, that space, we combine with primary care because
yeah.
and you know
It's the
this very
kernel.
well, that
Yeah.
it is a ever evolving, um, great place to be for both purpose and profit if you can align
Hmm.
those things well. And we're trying to help them do those things. Then we have a part of our business that focuses very specifically on specialty businesses, specialty
Mm,
clinics. These are typically, Doug, we don't play below 40, 50 provider businesses. And so if
right.
you use kind of the rule of thumb of one provider is 1 million to 2 million of revenue, these are 50 to $100 million businesses, depending on what they do. Then we have a part of our business that supports rural and regional health.
Oh,
And
wow.
then we
Yeah.
have a part of our business that supports academic medical and IDNs. And then so serving those 5 businesses, essentially, we have uh, self-selected particular EHRs that we integrate with and will be integrated fully into.
Right.
So that's the business that we serve. We're
I
close
love
to
the focus.
yeah, we're close to uh shoot, depending on what math you use, it could be 48. Other math could be 62 million patients that we serve at any given point. And just, kind of mathematically, right? If you think about numerical math, if you were to go to a Chiefs game,
Yeah.
um,
Eh,
I don't
as
know,
much as I can.
one end of the end zone,
Yeah.
that was representative of the human population. I don't know, from the 20 back to the end zone, we're really lucky to have all those people that would be affected by Luma in some
Yeah.
capacity. And so it has always been the mission of us to put the patient first, to develop these solutions that bring together, Doug, this Venn diagram of the patient, the provider, and the business entity. And those 3 things often don't work in concert. And
Hmm.
typically, it's very hard to get a smile in each of those circles because usually one is at the mercy of another.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and so we've tried to make our home there. And in those different businesses, some things are appreciated more than others. We have a series of business drivers, kind of our brand on the box that we like to keep ourselves loyal to. Number one is when people hire us, we want to help them create revenue. We want to
Hmm.
help them reduce operational
Mission and
costs.
margin. I mean,
Yeah,
health systems providers, they do have to generate revenue to stay in business and do the good works
100%.
that they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to help them become closer to their patient, to
Hmm.
change their brand loyalty to their patient. We want to help them unlock legacy systems like their EHRs. And then fifth is we want to help advance them on this digital continuum transformation growth story that they want to have. And
That's
so
right.
we've been largely, and data would support, um, when we go and we survey our customers and we go look at share of voice, we look at all these different indices. That's why you'd hear descriptors that they're helping me do one of these 5 things. And so it's always been, at least for the past 5 years, Doug, pretty, pretty consistent across, which of those 5 become number 1 versus number 5,
Right.
depending on the business, the time, the entity, the leader. Luma has, without our channel business, about 650 customers. So we enjoy
Wow.
a good
Yeah.
swath
Hmm.
of of opportunity to get things right and wrong all the time, every day, because enterprise software is really hard.
It is really hard. But Dave, as I listen to you talk, not just about the focus across these 5 different markets, which, oh, by the way, not everybody gets that right. It's really easy, especially, I mean, you've got a 10-year track history of building, figuring things out, finding where the right fit is.
Mm,
But it is not oftentimes a common mistake for digital health companies to throw things up against the wall
sure.
and say big health systems or small clinics, or we're just going to go every way. And that's a hard thing. You don't really get to refine your message, your culture, and or what's a value proposition if you don't focus. And so kudos. It sounds like y'all really just kind of nailed, hey, this is where we are really good. Doesn't mean that we won't grow into something next year, but this is where we're really going. We're going to execute. And then the 5 principles of value that goes on the box, as you said, to me, that speaks of a culture that clearly Luma is building, has built, and is leaning into, that is, as you talked about earlier, consistent with client and patient first. And I have to imagine, because enterprise software is super hard, as long as you're aligned against those 5 value propositions, at the end of the day, most people are going to give you grace versus skepticism in terms of what you're trying to do when you're working with them on their customer journey, how they're using your respective tools or software.
Absolutely. I'll give you two examples I can think of that crystallize a little bit of this uh, conundrum. Okay.
Hmm.
First is in the larger part of our market, um, the EHR, it has become the point of emphasis for nearly everything that the CIO and the board will look for one of two reasons. One is they'll say, "Hey, we don't feel we're as organized," and so that's an easy button to go
Right.
implement a large EHR,
Yep.
and then get their practices, processes from the perception standpoint up to a certain level. Okay, because they don't want to be the zebra that's a mile behind the pack.
Right.
And then the second thing is with the EHRs. The EHRs have recognized that they have a journey to go in order to preserve their solvency. And every single one of these EHRs is a business.
Oh yeah.
They're not
100%.
they're born out of the same set of values, but they're a business at the end of the day. And for them to retain their sovereignty and growth, they have to go do things like improve their
Hmm.
portals. They have to go and they have to figure out, hey, patients don't really want to use a portal. Okay. Most patients will want to use a portal for a set of things,
Hmm.
and then they don't want to use a portal for a set of other things.
That's
And if
right.
your only alternative historically was the phone system, then there was this soft underbelly of this emergence of DoorDash like, open table like
Hmm.
ability through text. And so what we recognized, Doug, was, wow, okay, well, there's this area where there's this common access problem where folks tend to cancel at in inconvenient times and ways. And then as
Yeah.
such, okay, two bad things then happen. No, bad thing number one is that they themselves have to go chase getting themselves rebooked. Bad thing
Hmm.
number two is you and I are sitting on our couch and we ourselves might have availability to go see that doctor tomorrow, but we're unaware and we're still waiting 2 more weeks.
And why
And
would
so
we be aware?
right.
Yeah.
And so this combination, we call it the Texas 4-step. Okay. Which is, which is Doug, you cancel right
Yeah.
through your phone at 6:30 because you realize that you have something going
Hmm.
on the next day and you made that
Yeah.
appointment 4 months ago. You immediately are greeted with the opportunity to say, hey, let us either self-serve you with 3, 4, 5 availabilities, or you click and choose your own adventure, but you book yourself. This takes 20 seconds.
Hmm.
At the same time, everyone else that's sitting on their couch receives a text notification and there's multiple ways to go through
Mm-hmm.
that wait list concept. Okay. We're experts in that. And so then what we're able to do is we're able now to keep that slot full, put a smile on the face of the person that doesn't have to go chase getting themselves rebooked. And then we make happy somebody that really wanted to get care sooner. Well, that became a very appreciated combination
Oh
of our
yeah.
tools. And now you add on things like agentic solutions.
Mm-hmm.
You add on things that are um, that are experiential. And when you
Mm.
put these things together, now all of a sudden you have a highly combustible set of challenges. Okay, because dealing with a chatbot, as an example, only gets you so far.
Right.
And then when you call, if you call and it's a series of press 1, press 2, press 3, press 4, only gets you so far.
And it feels friction. It
And
feels
now you
irritating.
have
Yeah.
this invention of this agentic ability to go back and forth with somebody, which
Mm-hmm.
really isn't new. If we're being honest, State Farm and other large brands kind of had that one figured out a while back. Okay.
Right.
The
Right.
difference, though, is how you now pair it for the business problem purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, as an example with Luma, okay, we've chosen to go down a path where that agentic experience is essentially just using the same box of crayons, the same capabilities that we have had and delivered through SMS, we're
Mm-hmm.
now making available so that the customer can experience and choose what they want. And so there's this interesting thing happening in the market where you find the usability of these capabilities starting to become very nuanced, and
Yeah.
and and and
I would
where
believe that.
where you're recognizing that this makes sense in this area and this doesn't make sense in this area. And oh, by the way, there's a lot of human behavior here.
Oh yeah.
And at
On both
best,
sides.
Doug, at best, every company has essentially two things they can lean on to compete. One is they have about a year of AI engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has more than that.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody that says they have more than that I would not, they're selling you Rolexes, Folexes.
Yep.
Okay. Um, or,
I love that.
or the other thing is they have a deep reservoir of being an expert in whatever the function is. You
Mm-hmm.
work at a primary care
Mm-hmm.
solution that provides a very, very integrated experiential process. You're an expert in that.
Right.
If you
Right.
went and put agentic on top of things that you're doing there, you would know better than anybody what are the kinds of things that the customer of that solution is going to need.
That's right.
And so we've been lucky that we've done that, but it again, this is like a big horse race, and you're often judged on did you do a big raise this week? Did you, it's and then you're, like every other business, the EHR does their thing, and then they
Yeah.
tell the world that, hey, we're closing this gate. Sorry, folks that are innovating and integrating. And
Are in theory closing it, right? Yeah,
yes,
it's an
and
artificial blocker.
that is right. And that's their right, though. They're a
Yep.
business.
It's a
They
business.
are a business,
Mm-hmm.
and you either rise up and sharpen what you're doing and become an expert, or you, uh, we, you won't make it 10 years, or you won't make it the
Yeah.
next 10 years. So,
I,
um,
I will say, Dave, as I listen to you describe, I absolutely agree with both the reality of the market and some of, because there are real challenges, headwinds, if you will, for digital health companies as they continue to grow and separate from what a lot of noise in the system, a
mhm,
lot of and most of this noise, in fairness, is a distraction. People who talk about how much money they raised, that's a distraction. What are you going to
agreed.
do with it? How's it going to provide value? That's really the material impact.
all that good stuff. There's a mentor of mine. His name's Dick Flanagan. I worked with him during my tenure at Cerner Corporation. Phenomenal executive. He now leads a community here in Kansas City called Digital Health KC, and he has a mantra where he talks about healthcare moves at the speed of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses that in the frame of AI adoption because, right, that's all the rave right now. And he breaks it apart into two pieces. Said one, I think healthcare is going to go really fast with AI, but I think they're going to be one of the few industries that gets it right because trust is empirically at the crux of the relationship between the person, the consumer, and the provider, and they can't go so fast as to break that trust. And I simply say that, Dave, really more as a kudos to the culture, the mantra, and the momentum that Luma has built. Because what I hear you describing is you have built a culture of trust, and your clients are going to look at the innovations that you're doing, whether it's core functionality, agentic process, et cetera, and say, I am probably more open to trust in how I'm going to use this than skeptical for what it may do to me. And not every digital health company can say that, right? And that I think those are the things that see you past the noise in the system, past the big announcements that may or may not have meaningful things. But it takes 10 years of hard work, 5 years of your journey to get to this particular point. Um, I want to turn the dial just for a moment because we're talking a lot about healthcare, which is the purpose of this pod,
Mm-hmm.
where you focus from a go-to-market perspective. We're going to, in a moment, I'd love to hear how you think about sales strategies, what your
Sure.
teams are doing, processes, but you have not always been within healthcare. You've got a very successful go-to-market leadership track record in a number of different spaces. But at least my recollection is the journey with Luma from a healthcare perspective is relatively new. Um, what surprised you? And, probably what surprised you and what was the same as you made the transition from other industries into the healthcare space, the digital healthcare space, if you will?
Yeah, yeah. So one thing is, although I joined Luma 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 39.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I would like to think that my pyramid of what motivated me
Yeah.
dramatically changed because I realized being a patient with a chronic condition, the actuarial table is a little different. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the famous words of Brooks Hadlin, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah.
And I view what we do here through a very different lens. What I would share with you is
Mm.
that my biggest observation when I joined the organization was I heard from a few different, experts, and these are people that had been shared with me that they're the standard, they're the okay. And when I asked them, well, how did you achieve growth, and what should I expect?
Yeah.
And what I heard were two common themes. Number one was you got to go do all of these events. You got to go be a part of this association, that,
Yep.
this, that,
Yep.
this. And then the second thing is, okay, enterprise deals, they take 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And I remember after the second conversation thinking to myself, well, I'm nothing like you. And I don't mean to be this might sound a certain way. I don't mean to it to be, but I never went the path those people were going anyway. So why would
Yeah.
I take their advice? And what I realized is what you just said is healthcare moves at the speed of trust. What I saw was we have this underappreciated set of capabilities. The market wanted to just send reminders to people, but the real
Yeah.
business problem was the leakage when people cancel. They can't rebook. They can't integrate in. They spent $500 million on their EHR, and their CIO is telling them, if it's not, made by this EHR, we won't use it. And,
Mhm.
all of that's really convenient until that person becomes a patient. And then they realize that all these disconnected things can be made better. Okay. I
Mhm.
looked at this problem, Doug, and I was like, to heck with that. That's not the path I'm going to run. I enjoyed um, being developed by some wonderful leaders, and maybe I appreciated them more than others because they were typecast in similar personality DNA that I was,
Yeah.
and so being a type 1 diabetic. And in COVID, by the way, okay, it made it easy for me because I'm also introverted and reserved. And so, my skill set is I don't
Yeah.
like to go out and do the cocktail, I don't find when I know the value of trust through a relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have always been someone, Doug, that when I heard that advice, what I took from it originally was there's a lot of politicking that goes in.
Mm.
And what I probably misinterpreted with that advice was that you got to get trust in relationships built. And right now, that's the method to do it. And my approach was, let's let our product do it.
Mhm.
Let's, and fortunately, our CTO, Aditya Bansod, has always said, we're a product company.
Mm.
We're
Product
a
led.
product company,
Yeah.
and we were born to do that. We're like, we hang our shingle from that. And so as a result, Doug, you mentioned not to bleed over into this, but when I joined the business, I had been fortunate to have been trained in a bunch of different methodologies. And what I recognized very quickly was none of them are perfect, but you can't blend them because
Yeah.
people need a recipe.
That's right.
And 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 so we use force management, we use command of the message, med pick.
Mm. Okay.
And what I most appreciate about the organization and order of that more than any other is that the premise first is on understanding where does the value lie of what the person is actually trying to do?
Mm.
What do they think is most important to do? What do they want to be measured as? And then once you gain that lens, then you can apply some other conventional things like a challenger approach where it's teach, tailor, take control. But
Right.
another wise person once told me, seek to understand before you can be understood. And so you have this, we have always built our interactions, which is, by the way, as whether you're a prospect or whether you're a customer, through the lens of this, let's first try to understand, where are you today? What,
Mhm.
like if you're talking to us, okay, we don't do this thing, Doug, where, I'll pay you $100 to meet with me, Doug. Okay. I'll send you a gift card.
Right.
When we meet with people, they're choosing to meet with us. This isn't like, you had to meet with us. Now I'll tell you one funny story about that in a second though. Okay.
Okay.
Um, but they're opting into wanting to meet with us. So
Mhm.
as a result, they
They're
had a
giving of their
reason.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why should I spend the whole time trying to unload a bunch of stuff on you when the first thing I should try to understand is, well, Doug, hey, thanks for making this time. And I have a point of view. I've done a good amount of research.
Mhm.
But I'm super curious around these 5 things. Could you unpack that? And maybe if there's a sixth, seventh, and then I spend that time trying to unlock you and unlock what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
at which case I can say to you, Doug, I know we scheduled an hour for this call, but 20 minutes in, man, you don't need Luma. You need to
Yeah.
go talk to somebody else.
Ah.
Or I get the opportunity to say to you, well, Doug, hey, would it be okay if what do you know about Luma? And you go, well,
Mhm.
I did some research. I saw this. I saw your LA Times article, right? Great, awesome, right? Any feedback for me on that? Was it good, bad? Okay, right. Then I go in and I say, hey, could I introduce some of the work we do for customers that a little bit sound and look like you? And let me introduce to you so you have a frame of reference because you're living this problem every day. And let me introduce to you somebody else that was living that problem and what they're trying to do about it and how they've been able to incrementally do better. See, all of that is this framework of command of the message. And then from that, we leverage Gong, we leverage a whole set of we we have no shortage of a tech stack.
Yeah.
And then that
I do want to touch on that.
yeah, all that information pipes in, and then we're able then to communicate internally using metrics, your executive buyer, what's their decision criteria, but I've spoken to sales leaders who are like, oh, our sales process is Medic. And I'm like, no,
no.
I can't sit down with somebody. Like if you came into my shoe store, I couldn't walk in and say, hey, what are the metrics you use to tell me how good you are at the sport? Hey, by the way, are you the one with the wallet or does your mom or dad have it?
That's right.
Hey, it looks like somebody over there wants to buy 4 shoes. Is your criteria going to take more than 10 minutes? Because if so, I'm going to walk up. Like that's not you see where I'm going. So we have constructed our entire revenue function to attempt to mine our customers for that sort of information, to be able to write our case studies. When we do, when we're fortunate to get PR, right now our share of voice is about 20 to 25% of the market. We have a lot of improvement to do there.
Yeah.
But boy, Doug, is it hard to get news coverage organically through, because many of our customers, just because of the nature of what they do, they can or can't even share the work we do. And so but that's how we attempt to take in demand, work with it, understand it, organize it. And then, as I mentioned, we have these different teams.
Right.
And so what comes out of that and the organization of which of the business drivers are, and at the end of the day, Doug, that has been our model of growth and it has worked well. I did that at previous organizations and I brought it to Luma.
Well, I love I love the focus, and that there's a nice through line. Luma has a focus on where you believe you provide value. You're very laser focused on these 5 markets, 5 principles of value that you're going to deliver within those clients within that market. And then I hear you articulating that you've got focus in terms of how you go out and engage, how you frame the time you spend when you engage, and then how you assess those discussions moving from one phase to the next in a way that's a methodical understanding are we doing the right things, or are they moving absent of us for some other reasons? How do we measure that? I do want to I'm going to say this to the audience. You heard a masterclass of engaging a prospect. We're going to cut that into a little video. Dave, you're going to see me when we ultimately publish. That's going to be one of the first ones. I just love that description about using that 30 minutes, that an hour with a prospect and have them talking first. It's a super hard thing to do. I know when I first stepped into an individual sales role, and not to toot my own horn, I have a natural inclination. I'm more curious about you than I am telling you about me. But when I first started being a salesperson, I listened to everybody else. It felt like everything you had to do first is I'm going to tell you all about me. Here's what so-and-so does. Here's what the product does. Here's, the only reason you're here is you're here to listen to me talk. And then I get to the end. It's like, do you like it? Do you like it? Do you want to do something? And that's a hard thing to change to coach. I try to do it much better today. I try to coach it with my teams. I won't tell you I'm perfect. How do you instill that into your teams? How do you keep them repeatable with that approach?
Well, I would like to tell you everything's perfect all the time, but it's not.
All the time. All the time.
Yeah, I was a big beneficiary of education,
Mm,
of having really clear expectations of how things could be better, 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 better.
yeah.
And as a result, there's two things that I've always tried to do with the organizations. I think I'm hired, Doug, to do two things for the individual. One is help them become the best version of themselves in the role
Mm,
that they're in, nothing more, but nothing less. And then number two is help get them down the path of their career. And so when I look at it that way, if somebody joins our organization, Doug, we have a very systematic way in which we onboard somebody. We leverage a whole series of intentional concepts. We
mhm,
train, we certify, we do. I'm an enormous believer in dignity. And
mm,
the best way to get dignity is to try something.
yeah.
I'll give you a life-changing moment that I've been really lucky to have people share things with me that I didn't necessarily maybe realize at the time, but then later I realized, oh my gosh, like what they told me is what I need to do here. And I was sitting in Amsterdam when I was working at Citrix, and my wife and I were planning a move to Europe.
Okay.
And they wanted me to go run enterprise sales for the SaaS division in Europe. And so I had gone the summer before and I'd done like an ops tour and I met all these. I just loved meeting the way that these European leaders thought about their countries and their market.
Yeah.
It was just, I couldn't get enough of it. And so I went back and there was a leader that managed our Nordics at the time.
Mhm.
And I sat down with this individual and we started talking, and he worked out of the Amsterdam office and he was from Spain. And I asked him, well, what's your story? What's your journey? And he said,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a graduate of La Masia. Do you know what that is? And I said, of course I know what that is. That's the soccer academy for Barcelona.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So
Okay.
Messi, okay. It
Yeah.
it is if you are a gifted soccer player, there is not a more established place historically that you
Yeah.
could go to get developed. Well, here's two things I didn't know. Is what he shared with me is that, hey, only about 20 kids out of the 1,000 that go through that become pro. There's more doctors, lawyers, okay, that come out of this. And I asked him, I said, well, tell me why it is. What do you take out of this?
Yeah.
And he said, by the time you're in high school, you'll have practiced a set of fundamentals a million times. And I said to him, well, that's really cool. And he said, but the other cool thing is that what we do, the coaches, this is what where the breakthrough was. The coaches, Doug, chart how many times a player attempts the technique that they coached on, not whether
Mm.
they were successful.
Yeah. But did they do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he's telling me how they do this, and they literally celebrate attempts. Okay, so I have this
Oh,
magic moment. I
oh,
return back to the States, and as it would happen, I started thinking to myself, do I do that? Do I put more velocity to and when what I realized was that's dignity. Like when
yeah.
people try something and then they're rewarded for the effort, they get more confident. So what I try to do, Doug, is I try to get people to have that magic moment as often as possible. I want people on the phones the
Yes.
first week. I don't want them to wait a month.
Mhm.
When I joined, I told Adnan, hey, can I join a call? Let me try to, because I might not have known this, but I knew what it felt like to be a patient that couldn't
That's right.
do these things. I had no clue what our features and functions were, but I knew I could open. I knew I could ask a few questions. And I knew that I could participate in this conversation. This was day 3, Doug. And
Mhm.
so I try to align all of our onboarding, whether you're learning how to use Josh Braun's poke the bear style for emails, whether you're an SDR and you've never
Mhm.
learned how to tier, we do a top 40, middle 40, bottom 20. We
Mm.
leverage there's systems to
Right.
everything.
Right.
And then what I try to do, Doug, is I try to get folks to learn these capabilities and try as much as possible. And then I hire people, Doug, that have this insatiable desire for achievement suffering.
Mm.
Okay.
Ooh,
I mean,
achievement suffering.
I use
I
that
love that
term
phrase. Yeah.
here, um, a- a- all the time, because in order to do what we're doing, one has to be so committed to suffering to achieve. Amelia Earhart flew across the world and she's celebrated for that. But I mean, she went to the bathroom on herself. She flew in freezing
Mhm.
weather. She was hungry. She was scared. She had to have in her, yet each hour she did it, she gained the dignity of doing it.
Right.
And then pretty soon, the dignity of trying and doing things, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I'm really
Mm.
fortunate, Doug. We've had a bunch of folks in our sales org go on to other organizations. I've been really lucky that I've been able to welcome new folks to the
Yeah.
organization. We're not perfect,
Eh.
we miss sometimes, but it's usually not for anything other than maybe there was a business change that happened, and they're really great at this, and we need that. But by and large, man, we've been pretty consistent in running the business that way. That was a long answer to a short question.
But I love the mentality. You saw me I wrote down two things you said: celebrate the attempts, and then achievement suffering. Um, I part of the selfish reason I do these conversations is I've sat in your role um, several times, and there have been times when I'm looking around and I feel like I know what to do, but I don't have someone I can go bounce these ideas. And the last 2 years of speaking to people like yourself who are in the thick of it, who are building teams, who are showing success, it's just been a wonderful learning experience. And I try to shamelessly steal some of those ideas
Yeah.
to go put back into my own practice, and try to get better in that way. It's a remarkable opportunity. I do want to hit just right quick.
Mhm.
Kind of a fast round on tech stack because right there's a lot of noise out in the
Mhm.
market, especially in the revenue ops, sales ops
Mhm.
space around what things you should be using. AI is infusing everything. Just give me kind of and, don't spill any secret sauce or anything like that. But what's the stack that your teams use, and any highlight in terms of where you've seen it really accelerate
Yeah.
the speed and trajectory of what you're asking of your teams.
Yep, yep. Uh, for better or worse, I think the two, we use HubSpot, we use
Mm,
Salesforce, we leverage Gong in a way that makes a lot of sense for us. I very much, Doug, rely on first person interaction,
yeah,
and that's where the truth is. In a deal review, when we'll do deal reviews, I'm more interested, and we try to train the AEs on, is that what you said or is that what they said?
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And so Gong gives us a that's what they said point
Mm,
of view. And we have, very different call center outreach sorts of technologies. We're always looking at ways in which we can improve enabling the SDRs
So you
to.
have an SDR function
We
that
do.
is doing probably large outbound, top of funnel SQL creation, and then
We
that
do.
feeds into your AE team by and large.
We
Um,
do. We
what's your
do.
attitude? I think I know the answer, but I don't want to presume. So SDR is doing probably a lot of outbound, a lot of prospecting. What's the role for an AE in prospecting?
Yeah. So the AE is primarily responsible for two functions, Doug. First is we hold them accountable for territory coverage. So
Yep.
we do it every 6 weeks. We do it top to bottom, and we
Mm,
use a bunch of different uh, factors in which they will then weight their top 40%, not the number 40, their top 40%, their middle 40, and their bottom 20. And so in a 6-week period of time, you'll see swaps happening. So
yeah.
number
Yeah.
one is to have to, like, they cannot be successful if they just simply aren't watching their apple orchard. If they've
Yeah.
not walked the apple orchard and they're not using their brain, not their body, their brain, then they won't be successful here.
Mm,
And then the second thing is that their job, primarily number one, is that um, our if I call somebody that we had a first introductory meeting with and it didn't go anywhere, and I hear something other than, well, we picked this, but oh, I loved talking to this person. They had a point of view. They were engaged. I learned some new things. I feel like, and I asked them, well, did they learn anything about you? And they say, oh yeah, we spent actually a lot of time where they were great. Well, if I hear anything other than that,
yeah.
you can't be an AE here. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, third is, of course, their network effect. And their
Right.
network effect is much more fruitful than them cold calling people. Because in order to, w- our you I we don't chase 10,000 prospects, Doug. There's just a finite
Oh,
amount
yeah.
that fit what we're going after. And so we can't burn through 150 prospects every hour if we don't have something meaningful, useful. And
Yeah.
then the
That's
other
right.
thing, Doug, is that we have uh we have shifted our business over the past few years to being much more um problem solution focused as
Mm,
opposed to solution problem. So we have this wonderful platform. And it's a good looking solution. It does a lot of things. It integrates really well. The data's all there. So it is natural, Doug, for me to kind of do Rolexes, Folexes,
yeah.
because chances are
You've got a
you're going to
problem.
see something and self
Mhm.
identify. And you know what? There's a large amount of people actually that all they want from us is to actually get that first so that they can go through the self selection process
Right.
in it, but that's by design and intention. What I don't want us doing is saying to you, Doug, hey, our faxes and the inability of a paper document to find its way into your EHR to launch an order so that you can then use all this expensive tech stack that you built by the EHR's messaging and get that message out that same day. So the customer understands that referral was already in queue processor working on it, or do you want it to be a human process?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if I start out and show you our product, it will have no context to the problem that you're dealing with. Okay. Now, you might have self identified the problem and then come to us, in which case I don't want you to talk to me, Doug. Like, show me what you got, man. Like,
Yeah.
walk me
It's almost like a
through.
different channel
Yes.
of
Or, hey, I read
engagement.
this
Yeah.
thing. I read this.
Yeah.
We had a whole bunch of demand. We were fortunate to end up in in the in one of the nation's biggest newspapers, and it was about the work we're doing with one of our customers where they realize, hey, they don't have call center that's
Mhm.
their team after
Yep.
hours, and it's a suboptimal experience, and they wanted it to be better. Well, there's people that looked at that and they're like, I have that problem.
Mhm.
So then when they come to us, the last thing they want us to do is Rolexes, Folexes. Okay,
Right.
it's
They
like,
wanna laser
yes.
focus on, "How do I solve
So
this?" By the way, for our audience, Dave's referring to Luma had a wonderful, position LA Times article. We'll post the article as part of this, and we'll put it in the comments. It's well worth a read. And there is some really good insights in terms of both problems that these organizations are facing, especially with call centers and creating disintermediation between the patient and a
Mhm.
personal relationship. And then where companies like Luma can actually solve and help mitigate that particular issue. So we'll make sure our audience has access to that article.
Yep. The other thing,
Mm.
Doug, I'll just lay with this is that I try to share with our team that AI is everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and right now the best way to learn AI is to try to apply what they're doing to be intellectually curious. And
Yes.
so we pound, Doug, like, do you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset? And
Yeah.
there's not a single person that doesn't take their dog on a walk.
Mm-hmm.
You've just dealt with a huge health issue. And
Yeah.
there was a time where self-loathing is appropriate. You have to
Yeah.
do that. You have to say,
Mm-hmm.
why me? Okay. And oh shoot, and what's this? And but the people around you sometimes have to, that's where culture, relationship, trust matters, so that when you're in that moment, that somebody around you gets you into that growth mindset yourself, because then you start to have dignity.
That's right.
And so it's this combination that we try to do, Doug, where in my desire, back in the day at Citrix, gosh, I wanted to have 1,000 people reporting to me. Oh boy, would I love to have, we don't have the biggest sales team. We have 12 to 15 different AEs
Mm.
at any given point. I want those AEs to make millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
I would rather get great growth numbers and hit the metrics the
Mm-hmm.
board wants us to hit, and do it with a group of people and have this wonderful outcome for our company. We talk about Luma being a company of consequence.
Yeah.
And that, my friend, is a scarlet letter some days. It is heavy to go and try to hold ourselves to, man, they had this hard problem. Nobody could do it. We sold them this thing, and now we're delivering, and we got 9 out of 10 things right, but the 10th thing is really hard.
Yeah.
And so we go through this constant flux. One of the things that we've done that I'm really proud of is the team. Um, we 5 years ago, we introduced something called Luminate, which was
Okay.
this conference. And the first year we did it,
Mm.
we had like 70 people over 3 days. And this past year we had almost 1,000. Okay.
Oh, phenomenal. Yeah.
And what I learned from it, though, is that actually those are becoming more and more watered down. And
Really.
so 2 years
Uh,
ago, what we decided to do was we realized that as our business evolved, people were more interested in learning from their peers than they were learning about this movement. Okay.
right.
And this goes back to this understanding, this inflection point of, would we be doing Luminate for ourselves, or are we really doing it for prospects and customers? Because if we're doing it
What
for prospects and customers, then if you're an ECW customer, you are a lot more interested
in
in
that ecosystem?
learning how that works than you are sitting down with an enormous health system using Cerner or Epic.
Right.
And so we made that shift, and we've seen that be an incubator for us, where we're on second year of doing
Mhm.
these. Some of them, it's our third one, and it is an unbelievable experience because it's creating this camaraderie.
Community.
100%.
Yeah.
We like to say that's what it is, but you can't label yourself community. Somebody else has to,
That's right. That's
you
right.
know?
You can't make it a thing. It has to
Exactly.
be organically. I love that. I mean, I look generally. I've always loved client events to hear firsthand what are you really grappling with, where are you getting value, where can we get better. There's just no substitute for that feet on the street and seeing it firsthand. And whether you're in product or you're in go to market,
Yep.
there's different things that you can take from it. But to me, what you just described is a hallmark, a consistent through line. We've used this word now several times. you've got focus on where you're selling into, you've got focus on the value that you derive. And now you're using introspection to create focus on how can we empower the best community for our clients to share the things that are meaningful for them. I mean, just ho both a remarkable observation, but not inconsistent
Mm.
with how, you've described and how Luma has grown over the last 10 years. Dave, we're coming close to the end of time. I have 2 final questions for you. One's deep, just deep and
Mhm.
meaty, and one's fun. We'll see how it goes. Um, Prognosticate, a lot of things going on, AI's everywhere, the world's topsy-turvy, whatever that may mean. Where do you see healthcare in the next 5 years? Any big, bold predictions, whether it's about Luma, just healthcare writ large? I'd just be curious where your perspective is.
I My hope for healthcare is that as people, we're not meant to live for 200 years, okay?
Mm,
But the lifespan that we have and the health span, my hope for healthcare at least, is that the health span part of it benefits significantly from the invention of these incredibly brilliant minds that are
mhm,
applying computational strategies to micro problems. And, I'll answer that question like this. Um, so our youngest son has all the 5 antibodies of type 1 diabetes. And our older son has none.
yeah.
And so they're both tested at the same time. So our youngest son goes to a juvenile diabetes center here in Denver. Well, I think back, our older son was in 8th grade at the time. And when we received this news, it was, you said deep, right? It's a thing to go to absorb that. And our youngest son kind of understood what that meant, but then the gravity hit him. And my wife and I came back from walking. We have German Shepherds. We had walked our German Shepherds around, and my oldest son was watching at the time this show Vice, which was showing these medical inventions.
Oh, wow.
And he
Okay, yeah.
sat there and told our younger son, "I'm going to cure this disease."
Oh,
And I would hope that with what has happened now, with the ability to get access to doing things faster, being able to leverage multiple systems of information, that for the next kid that has something, or the next parent that has something, that do I want my dad to live to 120? No, but I also, gosh forbid, he got dementia in the next few years. Gosh, if
right.
if I could delay that a little longer, because and so I hope for healthcare. I hope for healthcare that the self-sustaining nature in which we are as human beings, that I think that there's a lot of profit to be made in doing that. And there's also nobility and dignity that comes
Mhm.
from doing these very things. And my hope would be that's what's going to happen. And not, I try to not pay attention to, oh gosh, it's Terminator 2. It's going to be this. I tend to think that, of course, okay, of course, you and I are old enough to know, oh my gosh, what if smallpox breaks out? What if
Right.
Ebola? What if, and then what we
There's
learn
always
is
a worst case.
human ingenuity and
Mhm.
bright people that are are driven by dignity. And so my hope is for us, okay, that AI turns into this incredible catalyst for this chemistry equation that has stumbled many, and that we learn to see people walk again after they have a spinal cord injury. They regain motion. that their mind extends a little longer, that immunology is made easier so people aren't crippled by
I love this.
arthritis. And, all of these things, Doug, it's time and pressure.
That's right.
And so my hope is we've been given now something that accelerates time and pressure. So that'd be my answer.
Wow. I mean, Dave, I just gotta say, just the overarching language that you've used throughout this entire conversation about dignity, about personal responsibility, about pushing yourself through adversity to be better for it. I mean, you use the phrase achievement suffering. Other people would probably substitute grit in the same way. But that comes through in spades in what you just articulated. And I love the optimism of what could be, and the recognition that hard things can produce good things.
Yeah.
Hard things don't always just produce bad things.
Yes.
All right. So I'll turn. I just echo everything that you say. I think that is a wonderful hope, belief, and viable outcome of what we could see over the next 5 years with some of these amazing technologies, capabilities that continue to proliferate through healthcare. So this is an easy one. If you're going to go to a Chiefs Denver's game, which one are you going to have more fun at? If you're in Kansas City or if you're in Denver, and who's going to win out this year, Denver or the Chiefs?
Well, I'm a tried and true USC Trojan fan. So
Yeah.
I would like to tell you that I'm not vested. My wife and I moved our family here in 2015, and I respect the heck out of Mahomes, and I think he's wonderful, and I really respect. First of all, I think the Chiefs are going to be great for health, barring health
Right. Yeah.
some other
Injuries.
life thing.
Yeah.
Okay, put those things aside. I think your
Travis
Chiefs.
Kelce getting married to Taylor Swift.
I don't think that even matters. I think you have a quarterback that is so driven to achieve things, and every year, y'all lose a player. I love Lamar Jackson. I love like last year, in the playoffs was his year. And he throws a perfect pass to the tight end. The tight end, who's type 1 diabetic, Mark Andrews, by the way. And
I did not know that.
amazing human. Mark Andrews drops a pass, and you look at Lamar Jackson, and he's sitting there saying it's on him. I love Josh Allen. There are so many. As a neutral, I get the benefit of appreciating greatness without the ups and downs of what you might go through. But if I had to bet, like my dad says, how can you bet against Jordan at football? I mean, you're just not gonna lose your money more times than you're gonna win.
I think that's fair advice for all the gamblers out there. I'm not one of those, but for all the gamblers out there, that's fair advice. I will just say I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, good or bad, but I have a lot of respect for the Denver Broncos, and I actually think they're going to give us a run for the money this year.
Well,
it's going to be a tough game.
I would hope for our community
that's right. Dave, this has been a phenomenal conversation.
Amazing. Thank you.
I cannot express the gratitude enough for you taking the time for this. As I said at the very beginning, outside looking in, there's so many things that I've seen, I've read, and that I've experienced that Luma is doing in this industry that is just fantastic. Kudos to you, kudos to the team, and thank you for coming on the pod. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me and letting me share a little bit about our special company of consequence and the things that we're doing. I really appreciate it.
It's been great. Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to The Counterweight. Thank you for listening to The Counterweight. Thank you for listening to The Counterweight. We are excited to bring you new episodes focused on the intersection of AI and healthcare. We are incredibly grateful to our guests and our listeners. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You will also find us on our LinkedIn page called The Counterweight. Follow, subscribe, and like these episodes. Be a part of the discussion and give us feedback and commentary on the topics we discuss.